Gadget number 1, the Fingerbot. And it doesn't look like much, but this is game-changing. Think about the not-so-smart gadgets in your home right now. Your TV, your kettle, your light bulbs maybe. Well, this makes them smart. You download the smartphone app, and through it, one tap makes this robot's arm come down to press the physical buttons on your appliances. So I've mounted mine on my PC, and so with my phone sitting across the room or even upstairs, I can now turn it on. Now, I didn't expect to like this product, but for just over $30, I ended up loving it. It's a watch. I hesitate to call it a smartwatch, but it's good to see that it can do smartwatch things, like customize your watch face and check your phone's notifications, but that is just the start. It tracks all kinds of stats like your number of steps, your heart rate, your blood pressure, and can even act as a remote shutter button for your phone's camera. And that stuff is all cool, it makes it useful, but is not my favorite feature. See, stored inside are actually 2 wireless earbuds, and the watch doubles as the charging case for them. As something that you keep on your wrist all the time anyways, that combination makes so much sense. You take these earphones out, you put them in your ear, they will automatically connect to your phone, and they don't even sound bad. The fit might be a bit of an issue for some people, but for me, if I spent $30 on just the earbuds, I wouldn't feel like I'd been ripped off, and that's quite an achievement. Interesting is what I'd use to describe this next product, Soundboom. It's a speaker for your smartphone, but one that doesn't require any pairing, or actually any batteries for that matter. If you have a phone that supports wireless charging, like a Samsung or a Huawei, then you just turn that feature on and place your phone in the docking area. All of a sudden, your music will stop playing through your phone speaker and start coming from this much louder, much richer speaker. So to give you an idea, I'm playing music on my phone right now. Let's put it on and see what happens. Also, massive shout out to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. Now, on the subject of wireless charging, welcome to a gadget from Ampere. It's a wireless charger, as you probably guessed, but with a twist. You plug it into the mains and all of a sudden have 3 10-watt fast wireless charging coils. There is one that's better for Android users, but the one I've got here is Apple focused. There's one spot for an Apple Watch, one for your AirPods, and one for your iPhone. Plus, the whole thing can be powered by your MacBook's charger. And the added twist is this folding mechanism, which of course A makes it more portable, but B means that it can be folded up to act as a stand for your device. Here's a fact about me. Actually, I can show you. I drink a lot of tea, and I think most tea drinkers agree that the second half of the cup always tastes less good than the first half, because by the time you've got there, it's cold. Enter the new Ember Travel Mug 2. It's not perfect, but it's one of my most used gadgets since it entered the studio. It syncs with your smartphone and lets you keep your drink at whatever temperature you think is comfortable. It comes with a dock, and while your mug is on it, it can keep your drink warm for 2 days if you wanted it to. Although, I probably wouldn't drink 2-day-old tea. But more importantly, the mug also works on the go, keeping your drink at the perfect temperature for an extra 3 hours on a road trip. There's a couple of other things I really appreciate here. This lid mechanism, for example, is 100% spill-free. Like, that is full of liquid right now, and I feel perfectly confident doing this over a whole load of expensive gadgets. I should probably stop that. When it comes to drinking as well, you just press this down and you can sip from any angle. There's also a touchscreen on the side, which just means you can control the temperature without the app if you wanted to. Well, you probably didn't see this coming, but welcome to Cowboy. It's a smart bike, and that brings a few benefits you probably expected, and a few you probably didn't. The bike itself, it's a pretty conservative mix of matte and glossy black. I wouldn't say the design shouts, but it's premium in a subtle way. It's fairly light too, at 16 kilos, and you get wide tires for a better grip on the road. But what makes it different are the smart features. With an app, you can lock it and unlock it the same way you do for your car, and when it's locked, it will not go anywhere. You get control over the lights on the front and the back, can remotely diagnose problems, and probably my favorite feature is that it tells you where your bike is at all times. So if you're very forgetful and you just need reminding where you left it, it works for that. Or if you're very unlucky and someone's just nicked it, you can still track and trace it. Plus, being an electric bike, it's got a battery that you feel the second you first put your foot down. It makes you feel like what I imagine a pro cyclist would feel, tearing around a racetrack, except you don't need to put in all that much effort. The electric motor automatically accounts for hills and tricky terrain. It kind of detects when you're exerting yourself and then just gives you a little extra push, and before you know it, you'll be flying at 25 kilometers an hour. We've seen a lot of smartphone handles in this series, but this right here is probably the most well-considered one I've come across. It's called the Oath Snap, and it is substantially sized, but looks surprisingly okay on the back of your phone. Pressing at one end releases a kickstand that can either prop your phone up at an angle or just be used to give you a bit more security when holding it. But then, you can bring these two ends together and they lock, and that is not coming apart anytime soon. You can then slide the grip up or down, which takes your thumb up and down with it. And there are a lot of times, especially with the massive phones we see nowadays, where I've personally wanted to be able to just kind of slide up and have better access to the top of my phone, and now you can do that. The grip is curved in a way that prevents it catching on pockets. It contains a magnet, so you can just throw it onto a fridge, for example. And the cherry on top is that if you still did want to use wireless charging, you can slip out the metal component, and it works. Next up is a smartphone flashlight, but one that I'd say is less of a cool toy and more of a pro tool. You can either set it up as a continuous light source if you were just trying to create a dramatic looking video, for example, or you can plug it into your phone. I've got the iPhone one here, and it'll then act as a flash for when you take photos, and it's about 4 times brighter than the built-in flash with about twice the range. So here are some side-by-side shots just to give you an idea of how much difference that makes. Also from Anker is my current favorite power bank. It's not cheap and it doesn't really look like anything out of the ordinary, but it's pretty much all you're going to need for a very long time. A 26,800 mAh capacity means you can charge even large battery smartphones like 6 times over from empty. That's like a week's worth of battery. And it's not just that it can charge them, but it's also that it can do it quickly. With a 45 watt output from just one port, it's actually powerful enough to charge most USB-C laptops. There's been a couple of times when I've been out and about and my MacBook is just about to die and this has saved the day. But there's more. In the box, you also get Anker's Atom 3, a 60 watt charger, to refill this power bank in about 3.5 hours. Which doesn't sound fast, but when you factor in that this is 6 phones worth of battery, it's not bad. Okay, let's talk about Moment for a minute. I've heard a ton about their camera lenses for years on YouTube, but never actually got around to testing them, till now, and they have some distinct benefits over just using your phone's camera. So it starts with a case. They have a ton of cases for a ton of different phones, and each one is built with specifically designed camera cutouts to allow for lens mounting. And then you pick your weapon. I've got 3 right here: a wide lens, a fisheye lens, and then a macro. So starting with the wide, your field of view changes from this to this. It's not drastic, but enough to notice. Fisheye, though, then takes you even further to this. And you might be thinking, the iPhone 11 Pro already has a built-in ultra-wide camera. It seems like a real pointless exercise to stick an ultra-wide camera onto the main camera. And for casual users, I'd agree. The main benefit, though, of mounting a wide lens is that you get to still use your phone's main camera to take a wide shot, and almost consistently, phones' main cameras are many times better than their ultra-wide cameras. Plus, with an iPhone, the night mode software is fantastic, but it only works on the main camera. The ultra-wide can't use it. So for perspective, I took this photo using the ultra-wide camera at night on the iPhone, and this is what it looks like using the Moment fisheye lens fixed onto the main camera. Quite a big difference. I also had to play with the macro camera and again, came away impressed. Although, one thing to note is that when you're getting really close to objects, you do benefit from having another light source, but that is where the Anker light comes in. Welcome to something you didn't know you needed. On the face of it, it's a pretty nondescript looking plastic box, but it opens to form a docking station. You sit your phone on this USB-C port, and all of a sudden, you can connect it to pretty much anything. The dock has 2 USB 2.0 ports, which is fine, but then turning it around, an HDMI, which is awesome. I can wire my phone straight to my TV to use Samsung DeX, for example. But then, even more crucial, on the third side is a fast USB 3.0 port, as well as an SD and micro SD card slot, and it just works. I could record something with my main camera, and then slip the SD card right into my phone and start watching back the clips. For a change of pace, here's something simple: a charging cable, but it's a good one. You're looking at nylon-coated wire for great durability, an LED light on the charging head, support for 40-watt fast charging. But the main differentiator is actually that the head is tilted 90 degrees, which, I'll be honest, for the vast majority of people doesn't actually make a difference. But it is useful for gamers, because usually cables stick directly outwards and get in the way of your fingers while playing. This negates that issue. We can go further, though, with yet another cable, and before you start jumping around in excitement, you might want to hear this. The Energy 360 is a rotating magnetic cable, and there's actually two really cool things about this. One, that it can flick between both normal and 90-degree orientations, but two, that it can also switch tips to charge micro USB, Lightning, and USB-C, which covers pretty much every phone out there. As with everything though, there is a trade-off. This cool magnetic switching system means that the current is limited at 2.4 amps, which should be fine for most people, but if you've got one of those phones with super fast chargers, this might not keep up. But this would make an amazing backup cable, because it supports everything. Well, this one's fun. There's a company called ShiftCam who've come up with a smartphone case that aims to be the fastest way to adapt your phone's cameras on the fly. It tries to address the issue with external smartphone lenses, which is that yes, they can be great quality, but most people are just put off by the fact that they now have something else that they've got to carry around. So, built into this case, you get 5 lenses to play around with. A 10x and 20x macro camera, 4x telephoto, 180-degree extreme fisheye, and a polarizer lens. The macro ones are pretty self-explanatory. The 10x slides on top of your phone's main camera to bring you 10x closer. It's decent quality too. The 20x is a similar lens, but because it slides over your phone's 2x telephoto camera, it can get you 20x closer. And again, quality's pretty good. The 4x zoom camera works in a similar way. So, to give you an idea, this is my iPhone's main camera. This would be what it looks like using the built-in 2x camera, and this would be the full 4x using the shift case lens on top of that. And the fisheye kind of speaks for itself. Very wide field of view, but also a ton of distortion. And finally, this polarizer is basically built to reduce glare and increase contrast on the ultra-wide camera of your phone. There are situations it's useful in, but I will say this, for all of these lenses, you get what you pay for. They're good, but they're just not as good as buying one lens specialized for one task. Now for a product that is far heavier than it needed to be, but this is quickly forgiven when you feel just how well constructed it is. You can tell it was built not to be moved around. This is the AirQuad, and the name tells half the story. It can charge 4 devices at the same time. So actually, it's pretty similar to that Unravel charger we looked at earlier in terms of scope, but with this additional USB-C dock for a smartphone or even an iPad Pro. As a bit of a bonus, if you've watched this far, I also managed to get hold of what claim to be world's slimmest true wireless earbuds. And I don't doubt the claim, these even make the fairly svelte AirPods look chunky. The entire earphones and case are so tiny that you will put these in your pocket and completely forget they're there. That said, they have priced themselves against the big dogs, and for a lot of people that might be the sticking point. While they do sound great, considering they're non-noise cancelling and they just rest near your ear canal instead of inside it, and they have touch controls for your music and your voice assistants, they won't match the connectivity and the seamlessness of AirPods. Surfshark VPN is pretty crazy value. Take a listen to this. You pay $1.99 a month, and that gives you unlimited simultaneous connections. You probably already know that VPNs can keep your browsing secure, especially in public places, and also help to get around internet censorship in certain regions like China. But Surfshark does a lot more than that. As well as being able to connect to single locations, it allows you to multi-hop or encrypt your data through 2 different servers at the same time. Surfshark can also scan online databases to make sure your emails and passwords haven't been leaked, and lets you use something called Blind Search, an internet search tool with no logs, no tracking, and no ads. 2 of the coolest things built into the VPN itself are the ability to automatically block ads, which can help load pages quicker whilst using less of your data, and the ability to access 15 different Netflix libraries from around the world. So do check the link in the description, and you can use the code BOSS to get an 83% discount and an extra month